So good morning. Welcome to our Memorial Day ceremony. We appreciate you all coming out. For those that were with us from this morning, thank you for doing that. A special thank you to all of our legacy students that helped us flag all of the cemeteries. We placed over 5,000 flags in our 3 cemeteries, 4 if you count Pine Grove Cemetery. We could not have those students, so thank you for that. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to have our scouts present the colors, so I'd ask you all to rise, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. Host the colors. Forward, march. I would ask you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, singing our national anthem is Caroline Raymond. Retire the colors. Please be seated.
Let us pray. O Lord, our God, we remember before you on this day the men and women of the armed forces who gave their lives that freedom and justice could live. We recall their sacrifices and offer them anew on the altar of liberty. Grant, gracious Father, that their deaths not be in vain, and that liberty and peace continue in America with our efforts. Give us the abiding sense of the heritage of our veterans, and bestow the grace of your presence in our ranks now and evermore. Amen.
What's Memorial Day all about?
That's easy. It's about no school and barbecues.
Well, I can't argue with that. But more importantly, it's about honoring those men and women who gave their lives to keep our country safe so that we could live here freely, to have those family barbecues.
So today we say thank you to those men and women who are our heroes. to someone who gives so much. What can you say to a hero? To someone who sees lives to touch. We can say thank you. Oh, we can say thank you, thank you. We know God blesses you for all you did and do. We've seen your light shine through, and we are all blessed too. You are our heroes. What can you say to a hero? To someone who's always there. What can you say to a hero? To someone who sees life again. We can say thank you. Oh, we can say thank you, thank you. We know God blesses you for all you did and do. We've seen your light shine through, and we are all blessed too. You are our heroes. You are our heroes. You are our
What would be the greatest gift? What would be the greatest gift to give to all those who gave their lives for us?
We could do our best to give their children what they fought so hard for.
A world filled with peace.
We've learned sign language for this song. If I could write
Hopefully those are our future Leominster High School band people. So I'd like to introduce and welcome the city's Commander-in-Chief, Mayor Dean Mazzarella.
Good morning and afternoon. Oh, I didn't hear the fire whistle, so it must not be noon yet. In case you're not from town, it's not officially noon until you hear the whistle. And the bells. We don't own watches in this town. We don't need them. Well, welcome to our active military, retired military, all of those that have served, families, Blue, Gold Star mothers and parents, on this 100th birthday of JFK. So I'm sure if you're a student in school, you've learned a little bit about JFK, but let me just tell you, if you were around during JFK's lifetime when he was president, a lot because he was from Massachusetts, but everybody had a calendar or some sort of picture in their house of Kennedy. In fact, we all had a record album of his speeches that we would play. I'm not sure everybody played it, but I've seen them in almost everyone's house. And today is his birthday. He would have been 100 years old. 100 years old. Yet, many of his quotes, many of his speeches, still ring true to this day. In fact, the one that we can all remember is, don't ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And on this Memorial Day, think of the greatest sacrifice, the greatest thing that you can do for your country is to serve it. How symbolic this day is, this special Memorial Day 2017. And so today we began at the Common and went and visited all of the cemeteries in town, so no veteran is forgotten. And I can just tell you that they aren't. Thank you to all of those that make sure that every grave gets a flag. People are out there all weekend. All of our veterans, scouts, community volunteers. I want to thank the scouts. They were out there. Did you see how many scouts we had today? How about a round of applause for the scouts? We had a lot of scouts out there. Scouting is good. Scouting teaches them good values and principles. And all those parents that give up countless hours to be scout masters. Our high school band, let's thank them. Great job, eh? Performed so well year-round. All of our veterans. And a special thank you to those graduates 2017. Next Saturday will be a beautiful day. Don't worry about it. Stop checking the weather. Don't do it to yourself. But for those, just stand up if you're a graduating senior and you're a member of the band. Thank you. All we are going to perform is start practice in August in that hot parking lot up at Leominster High School. I don't know how they do it, but they manage and they perform year-round. They have like a month off, maybe a day off. But anyway, thank you for all that you do. The Mass 15th, where are they? The Mass 15th, we're outside. Boy, step inside for a minute. Let's thank them because you scared more babies today than anybody. But they're always there for us, and they're always off to the side, and sometimes we forget to recognize them. It is. And so we thank them as well. Our veterans organizations, yesterday they were down, they gave up their weekend to sell the poppies down there. Every dime, right, goes back to local veterans. And I don't know how much you've raised, $100,000 over time or more. 5, amazing. Thank you. And poor Rocky didn't have much of a chance this year on the lake. Some days he was frozen halfway through, and the rest of the time we weren't sure how long he was going to last. But again, our veterans visit other veterans, nursing homes, assisted living at their homes. No veteran in Leominster is ever forgotten, and that's because of you. Our veterans, and all of you in our community. So thank you for coming today. We thank our local officials. Our guest speaker today, we have a special gift for you. Your kids will be fighting over it. But thank you all for coming today.
to us. So at this time, I'm pretty excited to announce there's a program in Massachusetts called Project 351. And it's a program to get the Governor's Memorial Day Proclamation read in every city and town in Massachusetts. So we're honored to have a reader from Project 351 to read the Governor's Proclamation. And it's Leela Kuchiara, and she is a student at Skyview Middle School.
Whereas while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May, is when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life. And whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 29, 2017 to be Memorial Day.
Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the President of the Leominster City Council, David Cormier.
Good morning. I wrote my speech and I was planning on being at Carter Park, so you'll have to just pretend that it's 75 degrees and sunny and the birds are chirping. And at first, I want to say that I'm honored to be here this morning with all of our veterans, Gold Star parents, Gold Star wives, and many other distinguished guests. Let me introduce first my colleagues in the Leominster City Council that are here this morning. Councilor at Large and Marine veteran James Jr. Councilor at Large and Gold Star wife Claire Frieda. Councilor at Large Susan Shalafo Zephyr. Councilor at Large John Dombrowski. Ward 2 Councilor Pauline Cormier. Ward 4 Councilor Mark Bedanza. And Ward 5 Councilor Rick Marchian. So whenever I drive by historic Carter Park, I can't help but think of what went on there so many years ago. For most of us who are here today, we think of Carter Park as a place where a railroad bed used to lie. And I can still remember as a kid being in the schoolyard across the street at St. Leo's in the early 1980s and watching the freight trains pass through there. For others, it's a place where wedding photos were taken at the gazebo or where many gather on summer nights to watch the Leominster Colonial Band play a summer concert series. Today we know Carter Park is a place to come to remember our war heroes. People come to look on the kiosk or to peruse the many pathways here to find the brick of a loved one or an old friend that was purchased as part of Project 2000. Others come to Memorial Circle, which was dedicated on June 13th of 2010, to look at and reflect on the 122 names on the 4 monuments there, which are dedicated to those Leominster residents who gave their lives in our nation's conflicts. The monuments bear the names of 92 individuals who served in World War II, 17 who served in Korea, 10 in Vietnam, 2 in the Persian Gulf, and 1 in Iraq. Since our nation's birth in 1776, Leominster has always played an important role in our nation's wars and conflicts. The place in which we should be assembled right now, Carter Park, is the very place that was used as a mustering ground in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. During the Revolutionary War, Leominster supplied roughly 300 men who served at various times in capacities as both militia and regular soldiers for a period of 3 years. Leominster exceeded its quota. A lot of these heroes who we honor today are likely buried right next to Carter Park in Pine Grove Cemetery. Carter Park, the place in which we gather today also was the site in which President Theodore Roosevelt once stood during his visit to Leominster on September 2nd of 1902, and that took place in Carter Park, I believe, down near where the gazebo is today. Here, during his visit, he honored the brave veterans of the Civil War. Their gray hair, their uniforms faded, but with the same love of their country as the days they bravely served the cause of freedom. Let us never forget all of these brave men and women as we gather here today, like so many have done before us, and for the many generations to come, to keep their memories alive and to never forget the sacrifices they made for our freedom. Thank you, and happy Memorial Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. So our next speaker, I'm not going to read his whole bio, I'm just going to give you a few pertinent details. His name is Captain Douglas Tulloch. He was born 30 December 1978 in Tacoma Park, Maryland. He graduated from the University of Maryland, University College in May of 2008 with a BA in Business Administration and minor in Marketing. So he then reported to Officer Candidate School, Class 198, and successfully commissioned in the Marine Corps Reserve in August of 2008. Following his commission, he reported to the basic school, and then he reported to Infantry Officer Course, and then he received his MOS of 0302, Infantry Officer. He was assigned to Bravo Company 4th Light Armor Reconnaissance Battalion in Fort Detrick, Maryland, and then he deployed to Afghanistan. He did a bunch of other stuff, and he got stationed at Fort Devens. So now the important thing is, he's married to Christian A. Toulette Minto from somewhere in Ohio. She's an emergency room department registered nurse. They have 2 sons, 4-year-old Colton and 2-year-old Deacon. And we have a project for our state rep. She's a nurse. Her license did not transfer to Massachusetts. So we need that to be legislated, and I thought it was. So we have to look into that and see why it's not. Because we want her to be a nurse in Massachusetts. Now she has to go to New Hampshire. So Captain Toulette.
I just checked into this area about 3 weeks ago from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I was immediately assaulted by tree pollen. I've been under that assault for the last 3 weeks, and I've yet to figure out how to repel that. So after this, if anyone could tell me how I may be able to make some gains, I would greatly appreciate it. I thought long and hard about what I'd discuss with you today, and naturally, I thought about discussing the history of Memorial Day and what it means. But standing here in a city that predates the birth of our country and reading about how supportive your city and all these gentlemen seated here before me it would be foolish of me to try and educate you on something that you already know and the importance of this day. So what I'd like to do instead is share with you a story, and I promise I'll be brief, but how the way I viewed Memorial Day changed back in 2012. The story begins on the 22nd of April, 1944, when a Marine Corps PBJ-1 Delta, basically a B-25 platform, tail number 35087, took off from a small island in the South Pacific in what was described in reports at the time as absolutely horrendous conditions to do a training flight in preparations for low-altitude night bombing of Japanese positions. That plane never returned. And the ground crew for that plane was eventually ordered to go back to sleep when the command realized that they were not going to get that plane back. They flew from the squadron VMB 423, also known as the Seahorse Marines. And unfortunately, they had just lost another plane in the exact same circumstance just 2 days prior with another 7 Marines on board. It wouldn't be until 1987 that that wreckage was found on a small island now known as Vanuatu in the middle of an incredibly thick jungle, almost impossible to get to. And just by happenstance, a party was out looking for another aircraft from the same era and they happened to find this wreckage. Yet it wasn't until 2006 that a member of that party in an online forum posted that he had found this aircraft, and he made family connection to First Lieutenant Lalafin, who had been the pilot of that aircraft, and his second generation reached out and said that they knew that aircraft. From 2009 to 2011, there were 3 expeditions launched by the Joint POW-MIA Accounting Command, and they were able to successfully bring home and identify the remains of all 7 Marines who had been on board that aircraft that went down in 1944. I had the honor of flying to Honolulu, Hawaii, and escorting the caskets containing the last remains of those Marines to Arlington Cemetery for burial on 4 October 2012. Those Marines were First Lieutenant Laverne Lalafin, pilot of the aircraft, Second Lieutenant Dwight Exton, Second Lieutenant Walter Vincent Jr., who was not even supposed to be on the aircraft and took the place of another sick Marine, Tech Sergeant James Sisney, Corporal John Donovan, Corporal Rain Erickson, and Corporal John Yeager. And as I stood there at that ceremony and I watched the flag be folded and taps be played and flags were presented to each of the surviving members of those Marines' families, I started to become angry. Angry at knowing that the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters of those 7 Marines, they never received closure. They never knew what happened to their loved ones because they were simply listed as missing in action, and eventually they just accepted the inevitable. And then from my position there, standing at that funeral, I realized that I was standing in the exact same section, just the opposite end of the row, where Sergeant Major Robert Cottle, Sergeant David Smith, HM2 Zing Chi, who I affectionately knew simply as Doc, and my good friend First Lieutenant Scott Fleming were all buried, each within about 8 headstones of each other. My anger turned to sadness, my sadness turned to guilt, and then I realized that I wanted nothing more at that time than to go back to combat, to serve once again in the honor of all these men. But my son was only 3 months old at the time, and I knew that I couldn't go home and share those feelings because I would likely get a look from my wife. But then something changed, and this is the piece that I want to focus on for the next minute or so. VMB 423, those Seahorse Marines, they had surviving members of that squadron at that ceremony. And those gentlemen were hosting a reunion dinner that evening and through the remainder of the weekend. To see each other once again, but also honor the memory of the 7 Marines that they had just found and finally buried. And they invited me to come. How do you say no? How do you say no to a generation of Marines who paved the way for the Marine Corps that I stand in today? Short answer is you can't and you don't. And so I went. And there was a formal dinner and a guest speaker and a sit-down dinner, but then afterwards, this was the moment that everything changed. Afterwards, those Marines came up to me And all they wanted to do was hear my stories, and the stories of Afghanistan, which for the OEF and OAF veterans in here, all we have to do is look back in our history to World War II and realize that although it's been very difficult for us, it goes without saying that the greatest generation certainly had it far more difficult and in much more difficult circumstances than some of us. And as we started to trade stories, it wasn't one of sadness, it wasn't one of regret. It was a sharing of legacy. They told me stories of how, on one occasion in training, one of their aircraft had either gone long or landed on the wrong runway and gone off the runway and become stuck in a fence. And they desperately tried to clear the fence away from the nose gear so they could turn it around and get it back in the air before anyone noticed. Then there was my personal favorite. That while on combat missions in the South Pacific bombing Japanese positions at night, when their bomb bays were empty and it was time to return home, they would intentionally steer their aircraft over additional positions, and they would take the case of empty beer bottles from the evening prior, and they would throw them out the waste gunner windows, because apparently the sound of an empty beer bottle spiraling towards the ground is eerily similar to the bombs that their aircraft would drop. And they would chuckle and they'd return home knowing that they had made it miserable for some poor Japanese PFC on the ground who was scrambling out of his bed thinking that he was going to be bombed just to wake up to a bunch of broken beer bottles in the morning. And that's when I realized that Memorial Day should not be about sadness or mourning or regret. That it should be about legacy and sharing the legacy of the men and women who we honor today and ensuring that they're never forgotten. So my promise to you, and that I would ask all of you to do the same, is that every Memorial Day, don't mourn, celebrate, share stories. I promise all of you, my fellow veterans, especially to the Gold Star families, I will always give you my ear. And I will ensure that I learn who your Marine, sailor, airman, or soldier was, and make sure that their story is continuously told. It's been a pleasure to be here. I promised I would keep it quick. Just wanted to share my 2 thoughts on Memorial Day, what it means to me. And just tell you that I was fortunate this morning to meet Second Lieutenant Reynolds, who's one of your own, recently commissioned in the United States Marine Corps. He'll be reporting to the basic school September 11th, where he'll begin his training to eventually become a Marine Corps pilot. So I'll say this in conclusion. I'm honored to be a Marine, goes without saying. I'm honored to be part of a service that young men and women like Lieutenant Reynolds still sign the dotted line, thousands at a time. I just came from the School of Infantry East in Camp Lejeune, where we train approximately 16,000 young men and women every year who just enlisted in the Marine Corps. So many do so that even after 15 years of combat, we no longer have a draft. Well, we no longer use the draft. That was last used in the 70s. I'll finish by saying, thank you. It's been an honor to be here, especially knowing the rich history of this city. To my fellow Marines, I'll say Semper Fidelis. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
Your Memorial Day may have changed, but I think you changed our meaning of Memorial Day as well. So thank you. We have a little gift here for you. Most people would probably use this today. I'm sure you will. It's a blanket. It's the Leominster blanket. And you can probably use it today. Thank you. Wonderful job. And thank you for doing it.
Just to tell you how small the Marine Corps is, I retired from the Marine Corps in 2004. One of the Marines he served with and who was buried at Arlington National Cemetery, his name is Sergeant Major Robert Cottle. We were young NCOs together on embassy duty in Africa. And then we trained later on at Marine Corps Martial Arts School as first sergeants. And then that's really a small Marine Corps. Sergeant Major Rob Cottle was the epitome of a Marine. He was just a warrior. He was all warrior. And I remember him today. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to change up the program. It's not in your program, and I can do that. Thank you, Andy. I would ask Claire Frieda to come up. I would ask Captain Tulot to come up. Representative Natalie Higgins to come up, who is our state representative, and the mayor. So the state of Massachusetts has created a medal. And this medal is for someone who's killed in action or died of wounds as a result of combat. It's called the Medal of Liberty. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, authorized by Chapter 132 of the Acts of 2009, has presented the Medal of Liberty for Specialist 5 Ronald J. Frieda, U.S. Army. Massachusetts General Laws 33, Section 67A, there shall be a Medal of Liberty which shall be awarded to the next of kin of servicemen and women from the Commonwealth killed in action or died in service while in a designated combat area in the line of duty. Charles D. Baker, Governor.
I know I'm not supposed to say anything, and this is really, I had no idea this was coming. But I need to acknowledge my kids who went through this as much as I did. My grandson, who never met his grandfather. Just a special day for him. He was actually hit on Memorial Day, 1968. So it's 20 years this year in October that he'll be gone. So I want to thank Rick for the work that he did with this, and Representative Higgins and Commonwealth for the recognition.
In keeping with my ignoring the program, I would invite up the president of the local HOG chapter, Harley-Davidson Owners Group, and a Quilts of Valor representative, so Jeff Boulay, and I would ask the Robers family to come up.
Thank you for inviting me here today. I come representing 10,000 Quilt of Valor quilters across the country. We stand before you on this day, Memorial Day, to award a Quilt of Valor. We represent from all across America. My name is Nancy Carey. I stand here with the director of the Leominster Harley Owner Group, Jeff Boulay, and Joseph Tossi, whose mother actually put this piece together. I was honored to be asked to speak to you today. As I said, I speak as a representative of the Quilts of Valor. As a representative, it's my responsibility to inform others about the Quilts of Valor Foundation and to encourage groups and individuals throughout Mass to join us in making this a quilt of honor. One that comforts and heals our service members and veterans touched by war. I'm humbled to stand before so many of you, men, women, who have served our country, performed duty, and fought for the freedom that we all enjoy today. I am eternally grateful to each of you, and thank you for your services and sacrifices. The Quilt of Valor Foundation was founded in 2003 by Catherine Roberts of Blue Star Mom. One night she was awakened by a dream that she says was as vivid as real life. She saw a young man sitting on the side of his bed, in the middle of the night, hunched over. The permeating feeling was one of utter despair. She could see his war demons clustering around him, dragging him down into an emotional gutter. Then, as if viewing a movie, she saw him in the next scene, wrapped in a quilt. His whole demeanor changed, from one of despair to one of hope and well-being. The quilt had made a dramatic change, changing to a healing. From that dream, she built a foundation that would award over 100,000 Quilts of Valor. Our foundation represents a human being reaching out and touching another without judgment, reaching out with an appreciation and with an acknowledgement of the service to our nation in every trying circumstances. We as a foundation will go wherever those who have been touched by war, go or are. We don't need high-profile venues to find them. They are in plain sight. So we are awarding this quilt today. And this quilt brings a three-part message from our hearts. First, we honor this soldier and his service in Iraq. We honor him for leaving all that he had held so dear and to stand in harm's way in a time of crisis, protecting us from the effects of the war. Next, all of our quilters throughout the United States and all those HOG members know that freedom is not free. I say that every time I get on the bike and get to ride and enjoy this beautiful country. The cost of our freedom is due to the dedication of lives of men and women like all of you and your son. This quilt is meant to say thank you for your sacrifices. And finally, this quilt is meant to offer comfort and to remind you that although your family and friends cannot be with you at all times, you are forever in our thoughts. The founder of the foundation, Catherine Roberts, and I'm going to have to read my glasses now, sorry, said that this reward was for civilians. It's equivalent to a Purple Heart Award. Our quilts are awards, not handed out like a magazine or a video. This Quilt of Valor unequivocally says, thank you for your services, sacrifice, and valor in servicing. A Quilt of Valor is not a charity quilt. The top of the quilt, with its many colors, shapes, and fabrics, represent the communities and the many individuals that we are. The batting, the filler, is the center of the quilt. Its warmth, it represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth, comfort, peace, and healing to the individuals who receive it. The backing is the strength that supports that. Each stitch that holds the layers together represents love, gratitude, and sometimes the tears of the maker. As we all sew together, we often talk about all of those that have given to us, and I can honestly tell you that as Danny and many of us started working on this quilt, We talked about the sacrifices that you must have made, that your son made, and how much we truly appreciate it. And it was with that heart, huge heart, that we totally give you this quilt. So there is a poem that I am going to read that goes with this quilt, and we're going to actually, what we want to do is wrap the quilt around you, because this quilt is not to be hung or laid on a bed, just to be watched. A few pieces of cloth from people who care, to honor the service, it only seems fair. Carefully chosen materials of red, white, and blue, sewn together for those patriotic and true. A top pieced together with caring and pride, then quilted and backing with a warm layer inside. Every stitch and seam from the very start, with appreciation and gratitude straight from the heart. For you who have sacrificed for those at home, may this quilt warm and comfort you wherever you roam. Our hope with this quilt is to make sure that you knew we appreciate all that you have done and all that you have been through. Thank you so much, and enjoy the quilt.
Strike up the band.
Thank
Thank you, Barry. The band, as always, sounds terrific. At this time, we're going to lay the memorial wreath, and then we're going to read the names of all of Leominster's veterans who passed away since last Memorial Day. So if I could have the Rovers family and Claire escort the wreath from its holding spot to its place of honor here in the Make Pretend Memorials at Carter Park. Thank you. You can be seated. And if I can have my first reader.
Bruce Agnew, Dennis Anderson, Albert Ashton, Ernest Babbitt, Thomas Bailey Jr., Guido Batista, Vincent Larkin, Wayne Vivant, Jeanette Benoit, Walter Bertrand, Herbert Bellota, Leah Bolduc, Richard Boudreau, Joseph Boyack, Diane Brassard, Stephen Brassard, John Burke, Charles Carchi,
Maurice Cardin, Donald Charette, Armando Chacon Jr., Mateo Chacon, Pauline Clark, Donald Connolly, Henry Consalvo, Richard Cordio Jr., George Corliss, Dennis Cormier, Joseph Cormier, Vincent Credit, Ernest Crowley Jr., Edison Curry, Kenneth Dane, Anthony DeCarolis, Francis Dennis, Anthony Fayola.
Timothy Flanagan, Elaine Foskett, John Foster, Richard Frick, Louis Fossey, Harry Galloway, Vincent Gosk, Sidney Goyman, Theodore Gross, Raymond Gould, William Graham, George Granger, Walter Grant, Robert Grenier, John Grossi, Thomas Nagy, Paul Hanson, Henry Helene, Brady A. Woody.
Keith Heyer, John Howard, Willard Hubbard, Frank Hawkins, William Hume, Norman Huston, John Jackson, Ralph Jakes, George Johnson, Larry Julian, Robert Caraway, Ronald LaFosse, Henry Lanza, Robert Lawrence, Ledger, Robert Lemieux, Norman Loisel, Lawrence Lambert.
John Lyons, Donald Melo, Eugene Sam Malone, F. Mansfield, Vildio Marcello, Benedetto Marchetti, Joseph Martin, Edward Marlowe, Samuel Narcity, Charles Maxfield, Richard Maxwell, John McIntosh Jr., Norman McGee, Ronald Miles, Roger Moran, Herbert Muir, George Mulcahy, John Murphy.
Charles Muth, Roger Normandin, Timothy O'Connor Jr., Henry Perla, Raymond Reagan Jr., Danielle Salvatore, Ronald Sanchez, Louis Simoni, Frank Souza Jr., Hector Theron, Santonio Tossi, Christos Turnus, Gilbert Tremley, Gloria Watson. May they rest in peace. At this time, I will have a benediction by John Sheehan, followed by a rifle salute in taps.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, as we depart these services today, let us remember and give thanks to those who cherish freedom and liberty more than life. As we recall with thanksgiving the soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have lost their lives in defense of America. Let us rededicate our lives to the ideals for which they paid the supreme price. Their legacy is our birthright and our responsibility. So help us perform this mission and place your hands that the generations unborn to come will enjoy the freedoms we hold so dear. Grant us the skill, the dedication, the courage of the daily task to maintain the bright light of liberty. Amen.
Please rise. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming and celebrating the wrong word, honoring and remembering our veterans And all veterans and family members and parade participants, join us at the Veteran Center, please, for a light lunch.